All right, Shalom. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. This is your brother Samat coming to you again with another lesson. And today I just wanted to talk about pretty much, enduring the wicked authority before you, you know what I mean? Or, pretty much just overcoming the wicked that rule over you, all right? So, you know, one thing about this truth is that you're going to be placed in positions to where you're going to have people that have, in the world's perspective, right, authority over you, right? Esau, Edom being the ruler of this world, right, of this earth. You know, us living here in America, the scriptures tell us to obey the laws of the land, right? So, and agree with thy adversary quickly. So, part of us being servants of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is essentially us being law-abiding citizens, if you will, right? And I use that term loosely. But the point is, we have to follow suit with what is put in front of us, and this is more specifically going to apply to brothers at work, right? Brothers who have jobs where they have supervisors. Maybe you have multiple supervisors. I don't know if you work in that job, you might have a chain of command and things like that. You might have somebody that just might be like a team lead or something, but they have a position of seniority or superiority over you in your job's perspective. And one of the toughest things is when you have Edomites, as your supervisors, and they're, in general, they're inadequate, bro. Like, you know what I mean? They're weak, they're soft. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's tough to, just maintain your sanity, you know what I mean, or in your humility. But it is part of our walk. But in the grand scheme of things, really, it comes down to how we govern our lives. You know what I mean? Like, we have to learn to be humble in a world where we know we're superior. We know that we're better than people around us, our heathen counterparts, if you will. A lot of times we know we got more swag. We know we're more creative. We know that, a lot of times when it comes to, getting promotions at the job, we know we're more qualified and many other things. But sometimes you just got to take it on the chin, Just got to take it on the chin and let it be what it's going to be. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead. Slacky, I'm like extremely tired, y'all. Been working like a goddamn slave. And I'm getting ready. I'm not gonna make this too long because I am getting ready to go to bed. I gotta be up in 5 a.m. so less than 8 hours. Romans 13:1-2. Let every soul be subject unto the higher power, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that are are ordained of the Most High. Whosoever therefore resists with the power resists the ordinance of the Most High. Exactly. So the power that was set up on the earth was set up by the Lord, you know what I mean? And we know that we have scriptures that tell us to obey the laws of the land, to agree with our adversary quickly, you know what I mean? When we are in the way with him, you know what I mean? So, and it's taking a low road, but in reality, it's taking a high road, because what it is we're taking the humble path, which in the world's perspective is the low road, but in reality, to the Lord, it's the high road, because we're showing forth faith, we're showing forth true power, right? True strength. It takes a lot of strength and power to be able to know that you're better than somebody, or know that you're right, but to just let it go, because it's not that deep. It's not worth the hassle that may come from you trying to prove that you're right, or you trying to prove that you're better. it does more harm than good, and there's a lot more that comes from it. And a lot of times that energy can be applied to other things in our lives. All right, so you know, and this is the power structure that was set up by the Heavenly Father. So we don't want to resist the ordinance of the Lord. Just how there's a lot of prophecies that have to come to pass, and there's a lot of things that must happen. And you have certain Israelite camps that they do things that are contrary to the scriptures. Like they do things that resist the natural course of the scriptures, that resist prophecy. For example, I believe IUIC, I believe they do it often. Marches to stop the violence in so-called black communities and whatnot. And and on at face value, it's a beautiful thing, right? Face value, yeah, right. Oh wow, look at these so-called black Latino men marching in uniformity, right, in uniform, to stop the violence. It does nothing, right? It's not going to stop the violence because it doesn't help anything. So it's a nice gesture, but because it does nothing for the people who kill each other, it does nothing for them. But the main point is that it goes against prophecy. Right? Jacob's trouble states that there's going to be chaos, death, and destruction in our community. Right? Jacob's trouble is going to be between ourselves, but honestly, even those days, it's going to be civil war and things like that. But Jake always going to be killing each other until the Lord come back. Right? So you're literally marching against prophecy. Right? So let's move on. 1 Peter 2:13-15. It says, "Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake. For so is the will of the Most High, that with well-doing you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men." You know what I mean? So, and honestly, this goes beyond just the world. This goes, this can go, if you have a camp or whatever, you know what I mean? If you got a camp head, your camp gives an ordinance or an order. If you want to be a part of that camp, it's just, you just got to follow it, even if you don't like it, even if you don't agree with the rule or the ordinance, right? Ordinance is pretty much just like a local law, if you will, right? It doesn't apply everywhere. It just applies in that specific jurisdiction, right? Like a camp, for example, or a city. Like usually an ordinance is a city or a township. But it doesn't affect the whole state, right? The state there's laws in the state that govern the whole state, but a specific city can have ordinances just that only applies in that city, right? Like the city of Philadelphia has laws that only apply in Philadelphia that don't apply in any other city or township in the state of Pennsylvania. But there's Pennsylvania law that supersedes the whole state, right? So you can have ordinances within your camp. And like I said, you might not agree with it. You might think it's stupid. You might think it's senseless, whatever. But if the person who is in charge of the camp, believes it to be a reason why this ordinance is what it is, if you want to be a part of the camp, you just got to follow it. You know what I mean? As long as it's not an invalid order, as long as it's not anything that goes against the scriptures. It's very simple. You know what I mean? That's part of being humble. And this is the kind of things you're going to go through, especially at work. In the world, because when it comes to the truth, it's all in the spirit. And brothers ain't tyrants in the truth. So 9 times out of 10, you're not really going to have any ordinance that's just so unreasonable as you're like, I can't do it. But in the world, you may go through some shit like this. So just be humble, endure. Something that I'm experiencing myself. I got work in a place where you got supervisors and you got managers and stuff like that, and a lot of them are just fucking foolish, man. They're fools. Some of them are cool and laid back, but others, man, they just do too much, bro. Make the job harder than it has to be. You know what I mean? Just for the power tripping. Like, oh, I got power, so I'm gonna just be extra. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? So this is a good one. 1 Peter 2:19-20 says, "For this is thankworthy, if a man for conscience towards the Most High endure grief, suffering wrongfully. For what glory is it if, when ye be buffeted for your faults, ye shall take it patiently? But if ye take it patiently, this is acceptable to the Most High." Yeah, so we go through our faults, man. Sometimes we get rebuked. by other brothers and our heads of our camps, and it may be wrongful, right? Sometimes the rebuke is not, it doesn't apply to you per se, but or maybe you're getting rebuked about something that the person rebuking you lacks context, right? They don't have the full picture, right? And you can sit here and go and try to give the full picture, and the rebuke could just be rebuke. It doesn't have to have any repercussions from it, right? It could just be like, it's just a lesson, right? Like advice, like it's simple reprimand, like yo, da 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 da, you need to da 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 lock in, da 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 da. There's no like punishment or suspension or anything comes from it. And you can sit here and say, no, 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 but look, and try to explain yourself. And it's never a good look. I'm gonna be honest with you, unless it's asked. Unless it's asked, it's 9 times out of 10 is never a good look to try to justify what you did or what you didn't do or why something happened. If you're late, you could have been late for a legit reason. You left on time. When you left the house, you were scheduled to be at work 10 minutes early, right? 8:50. You got to be there now. Your GPS when you left the house at 8:50, but on your way to work, 10 minutes into your drive to work, I don't know, let's say a fucking tractor trailer flipped over in the road right in front of you. And then now traffic got held up and diverted. It took, 15, 20 minutes just for traffic to get diverted backwards and go around the block. You know what I mean? Now you're late 15 minutes. So you can sit here and, your boss, you get to work, your boss, calling you on the drive. You're like, no. Then you get there and you need to leave earlier. And you can sit here and say, no, I always make sure I'm here, but it was a trucker trip. And even though it's a legitimate reason, sometimes you could be like, you know what, boss, you got it. You're right. And then from that point on, what you should do is you should always plan for the unexpected. Like, you know what? If I would have just left 10 minutes earlier, I would have avoided this whole situation, right? 5 minutes earlier, I would have avoided the situation, even if traffic was held up. But then if you wouldn't, whatever. And that's the point. So sometimes you suffer things wrongfully, but you take them patiently, right? You suffer your faults, you endure these things, and you go through them patiently, right? And when you go through these things patiently, you become acceptable to the eyes of the Heavenly Father, right? Because when you are patiently enduring afflictions and faults, and just bad times, right? Just bad situations, like very annoying situations, right? The Most High understands everything you're going through. Like you people have to realize this. The Most High knoweth and understandeth all things better than we. The Most High understands our situation, our experience better than ourselves. We can literally be going through something and feel every feeling and emotion that we have, and the Most High understands it all. Even better, even clearer. So when you're in a situation where you're dealing with very foolish and incompetent superiors or supervisors, and or you're a part of a program and the people who are running the program are just destroying it and it's making it harder than it has to be, and it's frustrating you because it's giving you extra work and it's taking time away from other stuff, and you feel all this frustration, guess what? The Most High understands. He knows why the Most High ordained it. Suffer it patiently. And I guarantee you it's going to be light on the other end of the tunnel to a beautiful place, man, if we endure. James 4:10, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, he shall lift you up. So we're humbling ourselves before the Most High. The Most High knows all things, right? So you're dealing with certain situations, certain people, and you may be right, but when you humble yourself, like, you know what? It's all good. You got it. You right. It's the Most High who delights in it. You're humbling yourself before the Lord, not the person in front of you, but before the Lord. You're showing the Lord, you know what, Heavenly Father? I can be humble. I don't always have to be right. I don't always have to be big dog. I don't always have to be the man. It is what it is. I'm gonna just let people feel good about them. Sometimes I'm just gonna let people feel good. It's not that deep because it doesn't really affect me. And the Most High will exalt you, bro. The Most High will exalt you and lift you up and put you on the pedestal and let your light shine without you even having to do anything. It's going to be known. People are going to, it's just going to happen. You know what I mean? So, and it's a good one. Luke 14:11. It says, for whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. You know what I mean? And I try to take this personally, man. I can know listen, and you know when you are in a position to where you're the most qualified or the best for something. Like you could be in a group, you could be in school, whatever, work, and you know, like, yo, I know this inside and out. I'm probably the best person for this job. But you know what? It is what it is. I don't have to be right all the time. I don't have to shine all the time. You know what I mean? I don't have to be a base. I don't have to be the best. I don't have to present myself to be the best. But when I put forth my effort and my work speaks for itself. I don't have to speak. My work speaks for itself. And that's the Most High exalting you. And then your work is going to show. And it's going to be undeniable. That's, you'll good things will happen to you. You know what I mean? So, I think that's pretty much. I had a few more precepts here, but I think the point was pretty much made. Lord willing, this video was edifying to you, brothers and sisters. Always remember to remain patient, humble yourselves before the Lord in the face of men, in whatever situation, whatever bad time or experience you're going through. If it seems like it's just it's repetitive, and it's just keep yourself in prayer, patiently endure, and I guarantee it's gonna get better. So, shalom.